there's a method to my madness here with this. Not that there's often a method to any form of madness, but this is my horoscope for today. It doesn't bode well for a guy that's in this business. It never does. The horoscope begins. Keep your opinions to yourself today.
What?
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
I was going to say, how do you do that?
Keep your opinions to yourself today, because if the powers that be, now this would have applied when we were working in, terrestrial structured radio with management that was all paranoid about their own position and really had no idea what you were doing on the air. That was the interesting thing about that business. It's like they didn't give a flying one what you did on the air. They would formulate a quick opinion about whether they like your show or not, and if it was even remotely unconventional, they didn't like it right away. All right, so keep your opinions to yourself today, because if the powers that be consider what you say to be over the top or in poor taste, it could cost you dearly. Try to remember that not everyone shares your offbeat sense of humor, which is a shame. See, now, gods of astrology have made amends there and said, you know what? They don't get you, but realize that, and you're a lot safer just saying nothing. So no Trump stuff today, all right? What were you doing with those documents, Tony boy? I mean, what the hell was that?
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
It's perfectly justifiable, is it not, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Good morning, everybody. Good to be with you here on this fine Wednesday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, the Defo Show here on South Florida Live. Glad to have you guys along for the ride. Always welcome your comments on the chat line, and it really does embolden us to continue here when we see people making comments on the show. Even if you say the show sucks, it's okay. It's feedback. And all feedback is good, right? No, great to be with you, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz. You know what? It was never said at that. I don't want to get too heavily into the Trump thing. We always qualify this by saying that, but it is funny to me. I mean, it's more comedy because look, and we're unbiased in our opinion. I don't think Joe Biden is exactly Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right? I mean. I'm not going to try to fool you that this guy's some genius. I mean, he was a sort of nondescript politician his entire career. When they announced the Democrats that they were going to run Biden against Trump, who was going to get the Republican nomination in 2016, I thought, wow, that's a great job, man. You did it twice, right? You had Hillary, who was the one candidate that could lose to Trump. And then now you're putting another guy up there, the one guy out of the whole bunch that could lose to Donald Trump. And, sure enough, I guess, we got the win there because we got Trump out of there. But, I mean, Biden, and this might have little meaning to people that are outside the South Florida area because they probably wouldn't be familiar with how just absolutely vapid this guy was when it came to answering questions. But I think Joe Biden is the Joe Philbin of presidents. I believe that. That, it would be less compelling to see a Biden State of the Union address than it would to hear a Joe Philbin post-loss, post-game press conference, where he would start by humbly saying, well, I know we're losers, and I really want to congratulate the other team. But it was just this kind of blank look that he had on his face, and, you're thinking this guy is like, a couple of ice cream sandwiches away from checking out, man. He's done. But all right, so I mean, I'm not trying to sugarcoat this Biden presidency. It's had its ups and downs. Lubie says, there've been some good things lately. I believe, the intention of what is attempted to be accomplished, is probably good. Overall, I don't know that all of it is, but nonetheless, I mean, if they would just go ahead and do some bipartisan stuff and compromise whatever, which I guess they did on the one big issue there, where Biden is trying to, get the country back on track. Look, we're all rooting for the same thing, right? We just want to live good lives. That's why it's so weird that we're so divided over these political issues. But, at that MAGA rally when, Trump was calling the FBI scumbags and saying that they were just a tool of the evil regime and all of this other stuff, and that we can't trust law enforcement anymore, even though he was the guy that was, encouraging people to go beat up cops at the Capitol building. And wreak havoc there. But havoc, I mean, that's a light way of describing it, right? I mean, it was a vicious attack. I mean, one of the most dangerous and ugliest incidents that we've seen in American history. And, the Trumpster was out there. Those are my boys, those Proud Boys.
Exactly.
Yeah. That stupid look on his face. Stupid. Always has that stupid look on his face, like you know that he knows he's lying, but
Oh,
he
yeah.
believes his own lies. That kind of guy. I happen to associate with a guy like that. I know that entire psychopathic behavior where, you end up believing that you actually played for the New York Jets. You're telling your friends who were Jet fans growing up and never heard of you before and could easily go to any internet site and look up the roster from whatever years you're claiming you played for the Jets. And the guy's trying to convince me that he played for the Jets. He's wearing like a Jets jersey with his name on the back. It's like, any asshole could have gone down to a sporting goods store and bought that. That's not going to convince me that you play. I'm in this business. I kind of know.
Yes.
Right? But, you don't have to be anymore to verify things that formerly might have been slightly believable, even though you didn't believe it. Like a guy would say, you know what, I played ball at such and such a place. And, you'd say, okay, yeah, that's possible. You'd have some game. I don't know that you were really a professional, but if you say you played in France, I'll believe it. Right? Now you can find out. But I've never heard a guy say, "Hey, listen, I took these documents about the nuclear, strategies of some other country home. Just I was going to read them on the beach." What were you doing with this stuff, Donnie?
He has yet to say. He hasn't said once.
What
And
was
the
the
people that
reason
defend
for it? Yeah,
won't say why. They just yell about that they took them, which I
Yeah.
find weird. It's like, okay, but you're admitting that they were bad. Like you're not fighting that they were bad.
No.
Like you're just glossing over that.
It's their fault for coming again, and after they asked me for this stuff like 1,000 times in a zillion different fashions. Please, Donnie, give us the documents, huh? You're hanging on to this shit. I mean, how about why did you have them in the first place? That's all we want to know. Nice, easy explanation would diffuse everything. We wouldn't have all this screaming rhetoric, and it would be all over with. I mean, the answer would either be satisfying to the people that are involved here, or they would say, that's a criminal act there, Donnie boy. Any way you look at it. Anyway, all right, that's my political rhetoric for today. I've never found myself in this position before. I can't say that. You're wondering where this is going.
Can't even finish the statement.
It's an odd way to preface this next, idea that we're going to, peruse here on the show. But I mean, I don't know. How about you, Libby? There's enough sports out there for me to be satisfied with whatever is going on at the time. Rarely do I find myself in wild anticipation of the beginning, especially of the NFL season, because it's one of those things where, in sports talk in particular, here in the deep South, South Florida, there was too much emphasis, in my opinion, on football. I mean, it took me a while to come to accept that because I was living in California. There, football wasn't even that big of a deal. It was, but I mean, obviously, you had USC and UCLA, and they were prominent at the time. This was mid '70s to early '80s. And they were rolling, right? And you just accepted that USC was going to have a great team, be in contention for the national championship. UCLA was going to be the redheaded stepchild who got some of the leftovers that USC wasn't able to procure as recruits. The Rams were going to be okay sometimes, and for the most part, not so great, although they had some great players. And they did go to a Super Bowl during that period of time with Vince Ferragamo quarterbacking the team. There were quarterback controversies there. They had a lot of interesting storylines, including the whole racism thing about the quarterback position. Of course, this is where Al Campanis, was residing there with the Dodgers. Had to leave the organization after like 60 years in disgrace because Joe Frazier fell to the bottom of the pool in the Superstars competition, and he decided to make the statement to the public there in front of Ted Koppel and a Nightline audience of millions that black people lack buoyancy. It's like,
What does that
where the fuck did you come up with that? And why are you saying that now, Al?
Where'd your skin color?
Was not a bad guy. Al Campanis, well respected by everybody. I mean, he was emblematic of Dodger baseball, as much so as Tommy Lasorda for a long period of time. But that one time where he got a little flabbergasted there, maybe showing signs of dementia, he appeared to be making statements that were of a racist nature. And essentially, they were of a racist nature. But I mean, I don't know that he, in and of himself, was inherently racist. I don't want to believe that. I really don't. I just think he got caught up and tongue tied, and things came out badly. And this was at sort of the beginning of this sort of sensitivity. And that's a lot of sort ofs in one sentence there, Libby. Am I a little off my game here today? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he really meant any harm. I believe Campanis was instrumental in, kind of integrating the league a little bit. I don't know that he was Branch Rickey, but, he was one of those type of guys that sort of went against the grain in that sense. And yeah, but I mean, forever when you think of Al Campanis, what do you think of? You don't think of his career as a general manager or front office guy in Major League Baseball. You think of him on Ted Koppel saying that Joe Frazier couldn't swim. Which it was an odd conclusion to draw that black people lack buoyancy, and therefore there was an equation to the fact that they may not have the mental capacities. That's where we got in trouble. Well, I mean, rightfully so, I guess. I mean, it's an inflammatory statement there, but to do certain things in sports. And that was a big issue with James Harris, right? They kind of labeled James Harris as a dummy. Well, we should have talked to John. Well, John Feinstein kind of mentioned this. He has a book about what was it? I forget the early part. The last part is like take a knee or something.
Raise a fist, take a knee.
Yeah, when he's talking about racism in sports, and he got into that whole thing. Feinstein. I'm sure I haven't read the book. There's a surprise, but and just discussing it with him and happening, to have been in L.A. when that story was, very much in focus. It seemed unfair, huh? That James Harris, this big strapping dude who could, throw the ball, 100 yards down the field, was losing a starting job to Pat Hayden, who was, essentially like taking a midget wrestler out of a Volkswagen and popping him out there. Well, the guy couldn't see over the lineman's ass. I mean, he was like 5'7". Cerebral guy, went to USC. Pat Hayden, very sharp guy, eventually became, the athletic director there. And I'm not sure how people would judge his tenure.
It didn't go well.
It didn't go too well, yeah. They were getting all those recruits from the actors who were paying money to have the swim coach offer them a scholarship and yanking one from the football team or whatever that scam was. Whatever happened to the main guy in that whole scam? That that whole deal where people were getting like 4 or 5 months in prison. What happened to the main guy? I've never seen where he was sentenced.
I don't know.
The mastermind of the whole thing. First one in usually gets the lightest treatment.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right?
They ran out.
They were going to give this guy was going to do some time. But I don't know that has he been sentenced yet, this guy? Because they've had people in and out of jail already that were involved in his case. Kind of crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the main focus there in California, even though the USC kind of was. But it wasn't like you were counting the minutes until the football season started. And I don't think that's true in other places. I mean, obviously they're very excited about the football season in New York, although for what reason? They don't really have any college teams to speak of. I don't know. Is Rutgers considered a New York team? Syracuse is talked about when it comes to the basketball season, but I would hardly consider Syracuse to be an imminent part, or an integral part of New York City basketball. Because I mean, it's out there in the woods, man. It's 5 hours away, Lubie. Would you consider that part of New York City? Syracuse University, not even close.
It would be St. John's, but St. John's.
St. John's, yeah. They've been lousy for a long time.
So you just glom on to whoever you can.
St. John's used to be big, yeah. I mean, Philadelphia college basketball with the Big Five, very, very big. Is it big in New Jersey, college basketball? Seton Hall, Rutgers?
Yeah, Seton Hall for sure. Yeah.
Fairleigh Dickinson?
It's just college football is not big. Like I don't know who. Do they support Penn State? Like college football is just not a big deal.
No, it never was to me. I remember going to my first Syracuse game when I got to school there, and I wasn't even inclined to have any deep-rooted interest in college football. I thought, oh, yeah, they have a good football team, or supposedly so. They had Zonka the year before I got there. We had Rich Pretorius, who wore number 44, and unfortunately wore it right out of the history of the school. It was never prominent again. Rob Conrad, our good friend from the Dolphins, wore 44 there. That was a big tradition, man. I mean, think about the guys that had that number. My God.
Round.
Yeah, the whole string ended when I got there in 1969.
It's like me at FSU. FSU had gone to 3 straight title games. I go there. It's the beginning of the end of Bobby Bowden.
Yeah. Then you had Ernie Davis. You had Jim Brown, Floyd Little, Jim Nance.
Oh, man.
and Larry Zonka in succession at running back, and then I think it was Roger Pretorius was the running back there. It might have been a quarterback. He wore number 44, and that was it. Total decline after that. And the old man was senile at that point. I mean, the coach was Schwartzwalder, old Ben, done, finished, man. I mean, I had a little bit of minor contact with him through my activities with the baseball team. And the facilities weren't what they are today on a college campus. So, if you had a locker, there was a good chance that somewhere nearby was going to be like a member of the football team. And I remember sometimes seeing Schwartzwalder rolling through there, and I thought, who's that? And, I thought it was somebody's grandfather, but it was the fabled Ben Schwartzwalder, which was interesting because the coach of the baseball team was a guy named Andy Mogish, who I call the Buzzard. And it was a nickname. I have a, habit of having, ascribe people various nicknames that stick, right? So now everybody was calling this guy the Buzzard because he really looked like an old buzzard. It was just rah, rah. And I think he was the only guy on the campus there that was older than Schwartzwalder. And he was like 90. He didn't know what inning it was. I mean, he had no idea what the hell was going on in those games. It was kind of comical because we were all smoking weed and, got a big kick out of observing that the coach was absolutely inept. Nice enough guy. Wasn't a bad guy. I mean, he didn't wish anybody any evil. And yet, I mean, and Schwartzwalder, I'm not sure who was more senile, Mogish, the Buzzard, or the great Ben Schwartzwalder. Nice career he had, man. I mean, could he recruit running backs? Imagine that was their string of running backs at Syracuse over like a 20-year span.
They're all Hall of Fame.
Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, Jim Nance, who's overlooked as one of the great running backs in pro football history, right? When he went to the Buffalo Bills, this guy was unstoppable. And you had Floyd Little and Larry Zonka.
Yeah.
Holy shit, what happened to that school? I guess people don't run the ball as much anymore.
Northeast. People are like, I want to get out of fucking New York.
They couldn't win the Big East Conference. Oh, my God. Yeah, no, that's been in decline. But this is the first time in a long time, Lubie, I'm actually, and I watch a ton of sports. You know that. I've been enthralled in the U.S. Open. I wasn't as involved with it last night as I have been on previous days and nights because I went out last night. And, Coco Gauff, I guess, went down. I did see that match while I was at a place called the Tipperary Pub, which featured some very, very tasteful music on a Tuesday night. You would not expect this, walking into a place like that. It's one of the real, charms of some of the South Florida establishments that you might walk in. And I went there because I saw a little post on Facebook that my, one of my favorite guitar players, Matt Schofield, was going to be featured with the house band that night. Just walking in and playing for free, right? No cover charge, nothing. You go in there. I'm not sure that Mayo would have given it 4 stars for the food, but he is a little bit picky. Now that he's only eating vegetables, though, I mean, he might have, because what did we have? We had a chicken Caesar wrap. Is that on his caloric count, man? The guy's out there yesterday on his show with a calculator. Well, I had a carrot stick. It was 4 calories. I drank water. Count that as 1 calorie. Like, man, what are you doing, man? This was a guy that was eating muffalettas, the size of his head, just a few days earlier at Tom Tanazzini's place up there in Boynton Beach, and took it with 2 hands and just shoveled it in his face. We have it on camera. It's on tape.
Yep.
It's archived. And now the guys, that was a little bit, of a departure from what we've been looking at. I don't know that that's going to work, the calorie count with Mike Mayo. When he was counting calories up to like 10,000 a day, that was good. That was
fun.
Entertainment. But, watching a guy, and he keeps mentioning this keto diet. Nobody even knows what that is, right? What exactly is that?
It's not,
don't eat anything good is usually the situation with most diets, right? If you just eliminate anything that you really like, now you're on a diet.
It's low or no carbs for the most part.
All right, well, we'll see how that goes. But look, I'm rooting for the kid. I really am. You are too. I know that.
Oh, 100%. I want him to be okay. The way he was eating wasn't sustainable, but we can't go the other way either, where he's just eating broccoli and carrots. Like, there's gotta be...
and then you're going to take an over-under on your blood pressure numbers. Unbelievable. Oh, yeah. I see like 160 on the top there, Mike. What did he put it at? 158 and a hook, something like that.
I don't know. I don't care. I care because I want to be okay, but I don't care to actually remember.
160 over 90, they start looking at you kind of funny, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 120 over 70.
Are you on any medication? That was always the question I got. I had high blood pressure my whole life. And it's under control now, which is good. I don't know. I'm taking a couple of medications. I don't even know if I'm supposed to still be taking them because I think the last time I went to a doctor was 3 years ago when I got, prescribed these pills. No, I've had a couple of checkups since. I'm not really afraid of going and doing that. I just, who really wants to know, huh? It's very important. Maybe it is. I guess, stuff could be going on inside that you have no idea about. So it's worth getting checked out. I mean, especially if you want to, you keep this whole thing going. So you can get to my point, which is the football season is around the corner here.
It's here.
I mean, it's like
Tomorrow.
36 hours away.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
are people going to be in a mad scramble? We'll have to get the consultation from Jim Sarni on this, our television critic expert, because he did that for
Tomorrow's
a living.
NBC. Tomorrow and either Thanksgiving or Christmas. The Thursday game is NBC.
Oh, it is? Okay.
The rest of the season is Amazon Prime. But they supposedly worked out some really, DirecTV or whatever, worked out some really interesting packages with bars and restaurants where every bar or restaurant should have.
That's what I was thinking, though.
So
this may resurrect the time.
If
Remember
you're
when
a
you used to plan like way in advance? Where's everybody going for Monday Night Football? I mean, and I remember doing this, because Monday Night Football came into existence, I believe, when I was a freshman or sophomore in college, right? And it was the Jets and the Browns. I remember watching that game with a bunch of guys, and we were like, wow, this is awesome, right? Had a little 13-inch TV screen somebody had in their dorm room, and we're all watching. We were all, a lot of Jet fans there at the Q's. Because half the population had schlepped there from Long Island. They may as well have just set up a Leonard's of Great Neck right there in Syracuse and had them cater everything. But I remember watching that game, and then it became a thing, right? It was kind of like the same thing with Saturday Night Live. When Saturday Night Live was good back in the days with Aykroyd and Belushi and that whole crew. I mean, it was a brilliant show back then, and they used to get together to have Saturday Night Live watch parties. And the same thing with Monday Night Football. But that seemed to dissipate. When you go to bars now for a Monday Night Football game, it's almost like an afterthought. Like you have to tell the guy to switch off CNN.
Yes.
Or Bloomberg TV, a bunch of stock quotes are crawling by there for the one out to Cocker that lives at the Galt, who's following. Did Shell Oil go up? I have just bought some shares. My broker recommended. Right. I mean, it's almost like an afterthought. But I think this Thursday Night Football being on Amazon is going to be a great enhancement and a jolt in terms of the economy of most bars. And maybe it gets people going out again and getting together to watch a game. Is that possible?
And most people I know have Amazon, but still, I mean, it's a good excuse. And
but if you can't find a game, I don't know. I have it, so I could watch these games at home. But
Amazon's taking over the world.
Now, is it coincidence or is it going to be a habit that these Thursday night games are blockbuster games?
I think they're going to make it a point. I mean, Amazon paid a lot of money, and that's all they get is Thursday. So
right.
I think they are going to make it a point that these games are good games. Now I wonder.
You're not getting Texans, versus some other schmank team.
I think that's another thing. Look. A lot of the time, these games are supposed to be good. The Monday Night Football games aren't supposed to be bad. It's the season happens, and that's why you're not worried about the Dolphins' schedule so much. Because once the season happens, you find out, oh, this team really isn't that good. Oh, this team is good. So I think flexing is involved, where they're going to flex better games into Thursday. What I'm curious about is what does ESPN do? Like you joked about it, but you paid all that money for Buck and Aikman. You're not going to want good games. They've had ass games on Mondays.
Yeah, no, they really they soil their pants when they saw the schedule come out of Monday Night Football games. The executives at ESPN. It didn't matter that they had like Louis Riddick babbling through the entire game.
Like no one's watching.
He wouldn't say this, but I met up with John Kajemi yesterday briefly with Tommy Fox. Nice. As we consummated the deal there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And I brought up, I told John, because I thought John was great, man. I mean, he didn't overstate things. He was just a spot-on color analyst during the 20-some-odd years that he was working with ESPN. It
was great, yeah.
Yeah, he was very good. I mean, he wasn't going to give you like a ton of flashy things, but, very subtly on target with everything that he had to say. The kind of stuff that you want. Oh, what would you want from a color analyst? But astute analysis
I was
of
gonna
what
say
was
he was
happening.
annoying. You've opened my eyes to just how annoying it can be. He
Yeah.
was annoying.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't the booger man, or any of these other guys that were trying too hard. Who was the tight end from the Cowboys? Was
Oh,
awful.
Witten. Oh God, Witten.
Yeah, Witten. Yeah. Well, he just was boring as all
He was
hell.
just
But
rough, man. He was just
he was sort of monotone, over, sophisticated in the terminology and all of this, and just too enthusiastic to explain detail of plays. The next play is already going, right, and he's still talking about how the tight end missed the block over here. It was just enough already, right? But John was great, and so I said to him, "Geez, John, they're very exciting games. The only problem I have, how does ESPN have you, out of the picture, OOP, as they say in dog racing, and I have to take like more Lewis Riddick." So he's telling me that he met Riddick, and I said, and Riddick's probably seems like a good guy. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a very likable fellow. He just never shuts up after every play, never. And I don't know that all this theory is in play on every play. Not sure that you really need to go back through the entire. It's like, the guy that asks a question and gives you the whole history of the sport, and then Lubie, and then says, "So what do you think about that?" At the end of like a 45-minute question. And he said that he met Riddick once, and he seemed like a nice enough guy, but he was having a conversation with him and another guy at some, a meeting, I guess, at ESPN when he was there, and that he said something to Riddick, and then he was going to add some more stuff in, but Riddick was still talking.
there you go.
So he just eventually said, "Nice meeting you, Lewis. Love your work." All right, we're going to introduce a gentleman to you named Marc Nudelberg. Marc Nudelberg. That is, not my dentist, Dr. Nudelberg, but Marc Nudelberg, and he is an FSU graduate, and he coached under Jimbo Fisher, which is Lubie's favorite, so I'm sure he'll have some questions there about what that was all about. And also coached the Florida Gators on the staff of the Florida Gators, and was involved in this for over 14 years. And he has a book coming out, and he does a daily podcast streaming show like we do, but this one's called The Daily Huddle. And we're going to help introduce the book to you, and also some of the thoughts of Marc Nudelberg. Should be interesting, right, with what's going on in Florida football. Is it coming back, Lubie? What do you think? Are we coming back?
I don't know if we're as good as people want. Like, people are all on the Gators. To me, that game was more about Utah not finishing than the Gators winning, but everyone's excited about the Gators. Florida State was good for about 80% of that game, so it's about them learning how to close. And the Canes played Cookman, so I don't know what to do. Look, they housed within Cookman. So look, at least the three of them are undefeated, and they look like they have fun, young coaches that may make them relevant. That's where I think they are now, and we'll see if they take another step.
This has changed, huh? Yeah, no, that's a good point about the coaches. It feels like maybe, and this could turn out to be anything but the truth. But
I'm very wary of that.
No, I was impressed. I actually tuned in for a few minutes. I saw Billy Napier being interviewed, and I was trying to figure out who the new Mick Hubert is. And I didn't really catch the guy's name, but he was just perfect for the part. One of those nondescript guys that has a good voice and everything. And he said all the right things on the coaches show. He handled it pretty well, as coaches shows go. But I was impressed with Napier. He seemed like a real down-to-earth sort of guy. That might be the type of guy that has great success there with the Florida Gators, and off to a rocking start with this quarterback who everybody's in love with now. Like 100 to 1 to win the Heisman. What do you think? Heisman? No?
No, I don't think so.
You couldn't bet on a Florida Gator if he was a cinch to win Heisman. If you knew he already had the Heisman through some subversive arrangement,
no way.
You still wouldn't bet on him to win the Heisman.
No way. He could have the Heisman, and I would still say, there's no way. I don't give a shit. Tebow was breaking records, and I'm like, Tebow's overrated.
Yeah.
Literally, that's how I was saying that.
He was good in college, man, under the Spurrier system. I mean, not the Spurrier system, it
was Urban, your favorite.
Urban Meyer system, yeah. Urban Meyer, man. Who would figure? Wow. The fact that he was teaching a course in character and integrity.
Perfect.
That is just a classic.
Spot on.
Ohio State. I mean, how are they never under investigation for anything? Shit like that going on. Come on. How unscrupulous do you have to have Urban Meyer on your staff teaching a course in character assassination? Maybe no, he doesn't really do that. I mean, but when he kicked that poor guy in the balls that had missed a field goal in an exhibition game, it's a little over the top there. I mean, that makes Woody Hayes look like a lightweight when it came to that sort of violence. Bobby Knight. She's got a bad rap compared to Urban Meyer. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. Hialeah Park, just a beautiful place to go, man. And they were rocking over the weekend, Labor Day weekend. They always do a lot of special things there. And, wow, I mean, it's just incredible. 9 years since what was sort of seeming like a pipe dream of the great John Brunetti Sr. And now here they are with this casino that's just absolutely fantastic. And then on top of that, they have the poker room and the champion simulcasting room. Great food and drink all over the place. Entertainment galore. On the weekends, you're dancing away there. They have that Latin vibe, man. And it just gets you going. It gets you feeling like, hey, you know what? Get busy living or get busy dying. You're energized. You're enthusiastic about things because you're in there in a winning atmosphere, and it's just a great thing to be a part of. I love it. I've always loved Hialeah Park. I think you're going to love it, too. Check out the casino there with all your favorite Vegas-style games. Get a player's card when you come through the door. It gets you all kinds of rewards and amenities that you won't find very uncommon to other reward systems, right? Sometimes you stick your card in the machine there. You've been playing for like 3 straight days. You're in a 72-hour gambling binge, and it says your credits are 0, and you're entitled to nothing. Not the case there, Hialeah Park. Whammo, man. They put money on your card right away there in terms of free play. It's just absolutely fantastic. Check out the calendar of events at HialeahPark.com, and make sure you make your plans, clear your social calendar, and plan a visit to Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. Marc Nudelberg going to join us here. We'll get some insight into the Canes, Gators, and, well, I guess, Florida State, even more substantially there. Lubie, are you going to grill him about the Jimbo Fisher era?
Not to grill him. I like that era. I think Jimbo limped away, but, I mean, we won a title. You are harder on Jimbo than I am. I just didn't like how he left. I mean,
I thought he was a bit of a fraud. You know me and fraud.
I'm not stupid. Like, take your money. FSU wasn't giving him that money, so go get paid. It was just the way he left. Like the stories you heard when he left sort of sucked.
I don't mean to enrage Tony Segreto. He's going to be joining us at 8:00 here. But I mean, when a coach like Jimbo is giving you it's all about the kids, and I love this university speech.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
And he's already negotiated a deal to leave to Texas A&M, and he's got oil dripping off of his eyebrows there.
Exactly.
And he just took somebody's money to go completely against all of the principled disciplines that he was talking about and trying to impart to his kids. He wanted no part of any of it and just took the money and ran, right? And then left them, unfortunately, I mean, right up there. I mean, dereliction of duty, right? Those last 45 days of the Trumpster, not exactly a glorious era in the history of American presidency. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
For some reason, I keep hearing Mayo counting calories in my head here. He didn't even eat a thing on the show yesterday. Did you notice that? That was a record. I think that's the first time. He's coming up at 12:00 here on South Florida Live. It is 7:34. In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't get your question.
You were a coach that you coached all kinds of teams. You had teams that...
Hey, say it in English. Dad, you got it?
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
Part of Bobby Bowden's lasting legacy is stopping Mike Lubitz in mid-sentence there and asking for a translator as he was asking his idol a question in one of his early radio spots. Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, that handsome gentleman you see on your screen if you're watching the video stream here on South Florida Live is a gentleman named Marc Nudelberg. And as we said, we mentioned in promoting the fact he was going to be on the show, has a book coming out tomorrow, which we always find, I mean, that's a heck of an accomplishment. Just putting enough words together to constitute a book. And this one is called Family, Football, and Failure. And there's a hyphen there, leadership. That's all in the title. Mark, welcome to the show. Good to have you on.
Thanks, guys. It's a pleasure to be joining you this morning. Defo, I don't know if you recognize the name or not, but
yes, I do. Are you related to
that is my
Michael
father,
or
Steve Nudelberg, and so
right.
So I have to say hello for him. And I remember running around the studios back at 560 way in the day as a kid, and when you were doing your thing. So it's cool to be here. It's a pretty cool moment for me coming up as a kid in South Florida. And Lubie, hearing Coach Bowden's voice again, I was privileged to work with him in the early days of my career. That's a classic line of all time for sure.
Oh, no doubt about it, man. Here was Lubie. I mean, schwitzing. He had a flop sweat going. Bobby was coming on his high school football show we were doing on 1470 AM, which oddly enough, things go full circle. And we're doing something with these people again. But we were at Landlubbers Restaurant in Plantation there. And I think there was a pretty good crowd on hand. And then Bobby's there on the phone. And immediately he jumps right in there and says, what is this? He couldn't have been an easier interview to do. I mean, you could have said it's like interviewing Don King, where you go, "Hey, Don, how you doing?" And the next thing you know, an hour later, he's finishing up.
That's exactly right. I've got some great stories from my time with Coach Bowden and working with him on game day towards the end of his career, where there were some times he would look at me and say some things like, "What the hell is going on out there?" You know.
Yeah. No, he was great. All right. Now you get your start there. Now you coached at FSU and with the Florida Gators. I didn't realize this because Steve never mentioned any of this, your father.
Sure.
He was one of the more dynamic salespeople in South Florida radio history at a time where the business was just absolutely booming. I mean, he was a big maca down here, no doubt about it. Knew what he was doing. And was always like, isn't he doing like some kind of motivational thing now? So that would speak to the genes that you have to be a coach.
Him and I have partnered in developing a coaching agency now. As you said, he was iconic in building his career down here in South Florida. Transitioned from the radio business or really from the cell phone business to the radio business, built a digital marketing agency. And now we really help people, develop their leadership within their organizations, develop their sales processes. He was early into the game on LinkedIn. And when I transitioned out of coaching, I had a 10-year coaching career, like you mentioned, took me from places like Florida State to the University of Cincinnati to Florida to Nevada, and then ultimately to Lafayette College before I stepped away. But when I transitioned out, he really gave me a lot of the tools that helped me become successful, leveraging LinkedIn and building my own business down here. So now we're partnered together and doing that for organizations to help them modernize their sales processes and develop their people into being high performers.
Sounds good. Now, how did you get into the coaching thing? And tell us a little bit about that whole experience. You mentioned you had a few stops along the way, including two of the iconic, as you said, programs. Certainly here in the state of Florida, Florida State and Florida. So curious to see what you gained from those
Sure.
experiences.
You grow up in South Florida where football is just a staple. I was not gifted as an athlete, but enjoyed playing the game in high school. And when I decided not to take a scholarship to a smaller school in the Northeast, my high school coach at that time, Dave Mervis, was very friendly with Andy Urbanek, who was the AD at Florida State at that time. And he said, hey, there's opportunities for you to be able to work with the team that aren't, being on the team. And I was like, what does that look like? What is it? It turned out it was a scholarship position to be an equipment manager. And that was my entry into the organization. And through my undergrad years, I grew underneath Coach Bowden and that old staff to become a student assistant when Jimbo Fisher got brought in as the offensive coordinator. And what a time that was to be at Florida State with Bobby as the head coach, Jimbo as the OC, and Chuck Amato as the DC, because it was almost like being on two different football teams at the same time. You had the defense that were doing their own thing with Coach Amato and Coach Andrews. You had Jimbo with a staff that he had brought in. Essentially, pretty much everybody on that staff was his. And there was the head coach and waiting thing going on. So it was a really interesting time to be involved with that organization. Then when I graduated, Jimbo became the head coach and he offered me a full-time position as the special teams quality control. So I got introduced to Eddie Grant at that time, who was a South Florida legend in recruiting and just a great ball coach. He became my mentor, and that led me to, lots of opportunities. Got the opportunity to work with Coach Tuberville at the University of Cincinnati, then Coach McElwain at the University of Florida, then Brian Polian at the University of Nevada. But ultimately, what you find out in that business is if you don't have a last name or you're not some kind of blood relation, it is a uphill battle for you to stay in that profession. And so after 10 years, I took the leadership lessons and the organizational structure lessons and the lessons about creating high performers. And now I'm doing what I'm doing today with my dad.
Oh, it sounds extremely interesting. And you mentioned some characters there. I mean, could you possibly have anticipated that Tommy Tuberville would eventually become a senator? Very much, a central piece in the whole January 6th thing, as the Trumpster was calling him and saying, hey, what are we supposed to do here? The entire time. And Tuberville wanted no part of it, man. I just remember Tuberville having a very hot wife when he was an assistant coach. I think he was, offensive coordinator at the University of Miami?
Suzanne, I think he was actually the defensive coordinator, but Suzanne was there in Cincinnati with us, had the opportunity to meet her. Suzanne actually worked for my dad.
Still with the same woman? Yeah.
Back in the day.
All right, yeah. Because she was quite an attraction there when he would roll up into the press box for a couple of post-game cocktails. Sure. And, was Jimbo, did you sense Marc Nudelberg? And this is Marc Nudelberg. He has a book out, Family Football and Failure Leadership. And I could tell you from knowing his dad, I mean, this was one of those guys get up at a sales meeting and motivate a bunch of the most lacking in motivation sales crew that had just been bombing out and putting zeros on the board for months and months. And all of a sudden, they go charging out of the room to their cars, start banging on doors of donut shops and going, hey, man, you're going to buy this stuff and it's going to be good for you. No, it was great.
I love that.
Yeah, no, it's true. He was a real go-getter. But, was Jimbo, did you sense that Jimbo, it sounds like you had, the good side, of Jimbo, was favoring you as he furthered your coaching career. But did you sense that he was waiting for Bobby to get hit by a bus in Tallahassee?
There was definitely some
every day
there, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, you could sense that he was ready to run it the way he thought it should be run. And having come from working with Nick Saban at LSU, he knew the process, he knew the structure, he knew what it looked like, what needed to be in place. And the reality is that we hadn't really changed anything at Florida State since the 90s and the early 2000s of when they were winning. So at that point, we were a decade past the innovation of what had happened with the way teams were practicing, the way people were recruiting, what people were doing to be successful. So there was definitely some edge to getting him ready, for being in that seat. But then it was interesting because once he took over, I kind of got a master class in what it was like to change a culture, but then what happens once it's changed and how you get to sustaining it. I think, Nick Saban is unbelievable at what he does in creating the process, in, focusing on the attention to detail and holding everybody in the organization accountable to a standard of winning. But he does it in what's innately his own way, right? He's created that, and he does it as his authentic self. From having worked with a lot of guys who came from that Saban tree, I think the mistake that most of them make is they replicate trying to be Nick instead of trying to be themselves inside of the system that they want to implement. And so I think, it starts to get tuned out a little bit. And when there's a little bit more bark than bite, and not everybody's being held accountable to the same standards, it's hard to create a solid culture. And so a lot of that is what I talk about in the book, are these lessons that I learned about how to create winners, how to create the right kinds of organizations. And what I say was, I was privileged to work with some of the best and some of the worst leaders in the business. And sometimes being with the worst was better than being with the best, because I learned what not to do so much as what to do.
That's interesting, because that's what I was going to talk to you about. Is you were both with FSU. Cincinnati's become sort of a bigger program, even though on the smaller scale. Florida, Nevada, who's hung around, had some success, and Lafayette. You've been covered college football from all levels, and we're seeing sweeping change. You talk about changes, sweeping changes across college football as recently as now. We're going to have 12 playoff teams starting in 2026. You were one of the guys on the come up who was trying to break through. Where do you see this all going? NIL has made it pretty much the NFL light. Will college football be college football going forward? Like, to me, it just feels like it's the G League. And we've heard coaches even talk about it. Yeah, it's the G League. Like, what does that mean?
I think it's been something that's been happening for decades, right? I don't think this is new. I think we've been moving towards this as the TV deals have gotten bigger, as the head coaches' contracts have gotten bigger. That separation between coaching staff and player has only, grown over the years. I think we're headed in the right direction for the sport. Is it going to be the right direction for the schools? Is it going to be the right direction for the ADs? Probably not. But the reality is that the business is way bigger than anything they could have imagined decades ago. And I think Jim Harbaugh, who I don't normally agree with much of the things he says, said something that was very, very intelligent, which was the players should get a piece of the revenue, right? Like, they're creating the TV deals. Without them, there is no. And so if you look at the professional leagues, there's this collective bargaining agreement. There's these revenue shares. I think that's where we're heading. I think what the playoff did was allow the conferences enough time to figure it out, to figure who is going to be on the next wave. And essentially, you're going to end up with two major conferences that maybe incorporate 50 of the teams in the country. And then you're going to get a 12-team playoff out of those two conferences. And you're going to have something that is far bigger and different than anything that has been in the history of college football.
Couldn't help but think. I was feeling a little something. Can you tell your uncle, Dr. Michael Nudelberg, who takes care of my teeth, to cut me a break on this? He's got like a bridge over the River Kwai he's got to put in there. And I have nightmares about your uncle having his knee in my chest when he was pulling some teeth as we were getting this. I believe him to be the most remarkable troubleshooting dentist in the business. If there's a problem that no one else can fix or doesn't even want to touch, like other dentists say, well, it'll be $40,000, but I don't even want to do it if you have the money on you right now. And he would, get the job done. But
he finds a way to get it
does
done.
A very nice job. Yeah, I don't know if he takes care of your teeth or not, but they look great, by the way. Which is fantastic.
That. He had since I was a kid.
All good stuff. All right, tell us about the book here and what we're going to find inside of it. We kind of have an idea.
So for those of you that are watching on the restream, there's the cover.
Wow, there it is.
Family,
nice.
Football, and Failure. And ultimately, I was fortunate to grow up inside of a family that was led by my dad, as you mentioned him a bunch of times. And I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. And what that meant is they were willing to take responsibility for the business and for themselves day in and day out. That principle is what led me to be successful as a college coach. I was fortunate to be a special teams coordinator and run a third of the game. I had great mentors that helped me get to where I got to, but it was the fundamentals that were laid for me from my family about work ethic, about discipline, about relationship, about process, that when I got into football, it clicked for me very well to be able to take what they were doing, apply those principles. So the book is those stories. The book are those principles. The book is that game plan of success that I've used to move from arena to arena that have continued to serve me well throughout my life.
Oh, your dad, a great example of that. I mean, if you wanted to define the idea of to be successful in sales, look prosperous, which was something that a guy said to me when I was like 14 and I was selling souvenirs at Shea. I had like one pennant and I'm walking around the stands there. He says, look prosperous. And he hands me like another 100 pennants. Like these things should be flying off the shelf.
Yeah.
He was the example of that. That was for sure. So we wish you the best of luck with the book. It was a pleasure having you on the program. Very, very interesting story. I'm sure there's a lot more to tell. So that might be incentive for people to pick up the book and get a good read there. And what was it, McElwain that you were thinking of? As a guy that gave you the example of everything not to do.
I can't say.
What a strange cat he was, man. I mean, how would you describe him? If you could capsulize, what it was like to be around Jim McElwain, who was coaching the Gators, because it looked good for a while there, and then fell completely. I mean, what a pratfall this guy took.
So I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from that situation was you can't overcome the people you surround yourself with. And while I think Coach McElwain had all of the right intentions and he had an innate ability to connect with the players and get them to play for him, he did not surround himself with a staff that served him well. And he was not willing to own that or make a change in that. And therefore, the writing's on the wall, and you're either going to go down with the ship or you're going to make the changes necessary. And it's a great story from Steve Spurrier, who said to one of his defensive coordinators as he was letting him go out the door, I can't fire myself, So you either got to be willing to let people go on the staff or go down with the ship. He chose to go down with the ship. I think you see what he's doing at Central Michigan now, obviously putting points on the board and having some success there. So he was not one of the ones that I would say what not to do, other than you got to be willing to have the hard conversations with the people around you that aren't getting it done to make the changes necessary.
I just remember him going ape on the sidelines there, and I didn't know if you can say that. I guess he's a white guy, so I'm not going to get in the jackpot here. But
so Brian Polian was also notorious for going absolutely bananas on the sideline at Nevada. So I was around plenty of those coaches: Jimbo, McElwain, Brian Polian, who had plenty of animation on the sideline.
A lot of fun, Mark. It was a pleasure having you on the program, and nice recollection of some old memories there around the radio stations there, and that was the heyday of the whole business. So everybody was having a good time, and unfortunately, that landscape, it's like Death Valley by comparison.
When we're at 8:00 this morning, you're doing a daily huddle. Where can people find the daily huddle?
Oh yeah.
So the daily huddle, you can find it on YouTube. It live streams through YouTube. It's got his own YouTube channel, the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. You can also find us on LinkedIn through the live stream. If you go to my father, Steve Nudelberg's page, you'll get a notification that he's gone live. So either through YouTube or LinkedIn, it's a great networking event. It's a great time to come together with people of the community, other leaders within the community, and share some good news in the morning.
All right, we might need a little, pick-me-up message from Steve Nudelberg.
We'd love to have you
show.
guys there for it.
Coming in here, dragging hair's a mess, trying to debate whether to shave or not. I mean, no, we need to get that motivation and get this thing really rolling here. So, Mark, it was a pleasure, man. Thanks so much for being.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, very good, Marc Nudelberg, ladies and gentlemen.
That was great.
That was interesting, right?
That was great.
Yeah. No, his old man was a legendary, would come up with these bizarre deals, like huge money. And, it was always involved, very much in sports sales. When that was in its heyday, Lubie, when you could go out there and, people were diving in front of each other. Like you were Roger Goodell with NFL rights saying, well, wait a minute, I want to be the mortgage company on that show.
Exactly.
So, well, we already have 3 that we're endorsing here. Are we whores in this business? What do you think, Lubie?
A bit.
When you're rolling? I mean, it was pretty much like the Live Tour golf sellout. I mean, which, what's going on with that, man? What do you make of that?
I don't know. I think
What's
it'll.
going to happen with that? I mean, is that going to be ultimately the ruination of the game? Where these guys getting screwed all this time by the PGA, and they're just making an example of it? Is the Saudi money really cleaning up their image there? It seems like everybody's mashugana over this. And it will ultimately dilute, a little bit the PGA Tour. There's no question about it. I don't know. Will it have the kind of impact? I mean, people wrote off the American Football League there when, you had, the New York Titans and they couldn't draw 3,000 fans. I don't know. Were those games well attended? The Titans? Mark Taliaferro, man, was the quarterback. Mark
No.
Taliaferro.
No
Mike
idea.
Tolliver. That's how you pronounce it. Mike Tolliver. It was spelled Taliaferro, but it was like Tolliver, like Toliver. Mike Tolliver. Remember that guy? No? Neither did the NFL. They weren't too concerned until they signed Joe Willie. People debate whether Joe Willie should be in the Hall of Fame. Joe Willie is the reason that we're here today in anticipation of tomorrow, my friends. He was the man that made the transition. He was to football what Jim Morrison was to music, right? Riders on the Storm. He was an innovator, my friends, a revolutionary. And you would look at, somebody, imagine this, Louis, this might be something that a young guy, see, you're smart enough not to do this. I don't think you look at the stats and go, yeah, well, he only completed 50% of his passes. You've used that one, have you? Where do you stand on that? I mean, I don't think this one is a surefire. I don't care if the guy never completed a pass. Joe Willie is a Hall of Famer.
That have, that's why Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame. I mean, an impact on the game, and Namath had it. Look, statistically, he wasn't where some of the other quarterbacks were, but I mean, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. It's like Lynn Swann. Lynn Swann statistically was in, but he made big plays in big moments. So that matters. We do that all the time with sports. Where Zach Thomas doesn't have those big moments. Brian Urlacher does. That's why Zach Thomas will eventually get in, but it's going to take him more time. And Urlacher's in because he was a part of the Bear defense that went to a Super Bowl. Like, it's just the big moments are how we define sports. And Namath was a part of one of the biggest moments ever. He made the guarantee and he backed it up. And then that changed professional sports forever. The NFL reigned supreme. It wouldn't have otherwise.
There are certain incidents in my life that left an indelible impression. Some favorable, some not so favorable. But I will never forget that day in 1968 when he's rolling in there for the championship game, and I had the souvenir stand by the players' parking lot, and everybody in the world is wondering, where the hell is Joe Namath, man? He hasn't showed up yet. It's like 12 o'clock. And we're getting ready to shut down the stand. The people are already in the stadium. We're getting ready to shut down the stand, and then supported by two of the hottest Swedish models you've ever seen in a fur coat. They were all matching, I think wearing matching fur coats, all three of them. These two models are literally holding Joe up as if he was being carted off the field to bring him into the stadium for that game that he eventually won with a dramatic pass to Don Maynard. To beat the Raiders and trigger their appearance in the Super Bowl in 1969, which to this day, Don Shula, from the grave, he still can't believe that he got beat by the stinking New York Jets. And that started the whole thing, right, with the AFL. The NFL, they were non-believers. They'd crushed the Packers, had crushed the AFL competition in the first two Super Bowls, and everybody was like, what kind of a joke is this, huh? Yep. Next thing you know, let's talk some merger.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, a lot of people would like to merge with Texas Roadhouse. Ed Garcia is going to be with us as part of the great time that we always have going old school with Tony Segreto. And Tony's coming up next year. Also brought to you by Catholic Health Services, one of the finest organizations you will ever come across, and certainly in the medical field where you would have to say that health care, the word care, has become very tenuous in terms of whether or not the people actually care about the patients anymore. Huh? Not true with Catholic Health Services. They're a great organization. All right, Tony's a great guy. We love him. I owe him a dinner at Texas Roadhouse, which I'm laughing at because it was almost like winning a bet, right? Not only am I going to get to eat there, Lubie, you're invited too, but I know I could probably go there for the three of us with less than a stick and get out of there okay. Imagine it. Honestly. At a steakhouse. So I don't mind paying this one off. Tony did cash that bet, right? I bet against Serena in the first round.
He made fun of you the whole show. He spent a whole show making fun of you. He had Serena.
Well, he wanted me to be wrong about Serena, but which is fine. I don't know that I
Once
thought she was
matches.
going to lose that match because I thought it was a setup. I really did, and it was fine. You know what? That story worked out great, and the tournament has been brilliant. And now that you think back, that's kind of ancient history because it ended on Friday with Serena. But that was, I mean, tremendous to begin this tournament. I mean, to bring attention to it, and now you're watching some dynamite stuff going on. And I'm hoping the interest in the U.S. Open hasn't faded. Kyrgios, though, the bad boy that everybody loves now, he got knocked out last night in 5 sets, but he was injured and lost a 5-setter to a guy that nobody's ever heard of named Kachanov. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think it's Kachanov. And you know, it was a 5-set serving bloodbath, pretty much. Coco got knocked out also at the U.S. Open. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. Tony Segreto going to join us next to go old school on the Defo Show. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest. I thought Marc Nudelberg, when you were asking that question, was going to interrupt you and say, could you say it in English, dadgummit? Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I think you had the same pace in your delivery there as you did on the Bobby Bowden question. It's 8:02.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
We've finally found some fulfillment here on this program as we're sending 2 families to professional wrestling, and we had that kid skip school to get the tickets to the Dolphin game. We feel like we're reaching a measure of distinction here. Now, there's no more distinguished guy in South Florida broadcasting history than the man who joins us next, and that is Tony Segreto. We go old school with Tony Segreto.
He makes charitable work, his life work, so he's mocking us now for what we are proud of, our endeavor.
I am not mocking. I am not. I'm not mocking you. I just don't even know how to respond to that because I would not have expected anything less than that kind of intro today. When I heard that gentleman win the tickets to the wrestling and he's taking his children, I saw the wheels. I saw the comedy writer in Defo's head, like trying to write as fast as he could, just to figure out what's next.
I have to write everything down now, funny. Tony, because I can't remember my own name. It's written here on a sheet, the Defo Show.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto.
All right, welcome back to the show. Great to be with you here, and always, one of our favorite parts of the week is to get the chance to go old school with our good friend. I mean, he's a friend to everybody, and he is the guy that points you in a direction of light and brightness and hope. And we need some of that on this show. We have Mike Lubie Lubitz over there.
I had to do that for Lubie yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious me! He was, he texted me as he does every Tuesday. He texted me. He said, Tony, you ready for tomorrow? He's just double checking. He's so good at that, and you're very blessed to have that kind of guy.
Let's not get carried away. Blessed is not really a term I associate with my relationship with Lubie. No, he's a great guy, man. No question.
Anyway. So I go, how about them Knowles? And he goes into this.
Oh, God.
Oh, my goodness gracious. It's too close for – and I go, whoa.
Dramatic upset over a better team, supposedly.
Oh, my Lord. I couldn't understand it. There isn't a person that I haven't spoken with, Florida State fan, Florida fan, any kind of fan, who didn't think that was an amazing game and probably a turning point for this program with Mike Norvell.
And I'll get my father for you if you want. He's way worse. He thinks Fuller should be fired and Norvell won't last the season. I'm like, Jesus, Dad, how are you worse than me?
How is that possible?
Coach won't last the season.
Listen, listen. I am missing. I don't even know where to start.
That's what I come from. What do you want from me? I'm better than him. The whole game, we're losing.
That doesn't make it good. You're supposed to change the entire rhythm. You got to change the heritage here. My goodness gracious me. Oh my Lord.
You found one worse than me, didn't you, Tony? You found one worse than me.
Yeah, for that moment, he was worse than you. I said to him, you're hanging around Defo way too much.
No, this is on his own. This is a unique brand of
I couldn't believe it. My Lord. I don't know what else you want. In the past 5 years, this team would have folded.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely folded.
And they sort of did.
And they didn't. When you get Lou Holtz talked about different ways of learning how to win. And one of the ways is believing that you can take the next step, right? Believing, and then it's learning how to win. And then once you learn how to win consistently. And that was a lesson that they learned the other night, that you can, how many times, and I'm going to address this to Defo because we're a lot older than you. Jeff, how many times in our covering football games have we seen an extra point to tie or win it get blocked? How many times? I can't think of.
You know what? I actually was thinking very briefly after they scored that touchdown under, some very fugazi circumstances. But a thrill in Manila type of game. And of course, this was, I'm not sure. Did I lose the Texas Roadhouse dinner on the FSU LSU game or the Serena match on opening night?
Serena. But although I did pick FSU,
you liked FSU. Lubie liked FSU. He gave a fairly sound rationale, which was unusual for him, as to why FSU was being overlooked. And we had two guys whose opinion I respect say that LSU was going to crush FSU like a grape, and they couldn't believe the line was only 3 points. They thought this was Gimme City. Right.
We had all the experts say that Ohio State was going to. They would
Notre Dame,
That
one was more suspect, though, than this. Everybody was convinced, except for Lubie and you, that FSU, 3 points was a joke. They couldn't even understand how the line was there and stayed there for so long. And then you get, as a degenerate, this miracle. They're going in for an unnecessary, pounding, clinching score. They don't have to do anything. They could have just sat on the ball and probably eliminated any chance. They would have forced LSU to use their timeouts, and there would have been maybe 20 seconds left in the game to go 95 yards or whatever it would have been. I thought of you, Tony, because I was hearing in my head Sonny Hirsch's call and the Horace Copeland pass play. I think that was from Gino.
Yeah.
Of 99 yards. All of South Florida. And Neil Rogers used to play that clip like a zillion times a show. So it stuck in my head. But I thought, they go 99 yards, and I thought for a brief second, everybody's celebrating. Well, what if they miss this? Like the kid shanks it.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm going, like, all right, it's tied. All right, what are the chances of him
especially in
it?
college? The kickers are less consistent.
It's a gimme. But listen, missing it is one thing. Blocking an extra point is like next to impossible. But what a win for that program. And when's the last time we can say that Miami, Florida, and Florida State all won on the same weekend?
And I don't know how significant the Miami one was, but the Gators.
Well, listen,
and Florida State, those were big wins. Huge wins.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the Florida State Duquesne game when talking about Miami. You go beyond the opponent. You look at how they won. They didn't commit mistakes. They had high energy. There was they kept everything pretty much vanilla. They weren't going to expose a whole lot of things in what they do. But I really love the way they played. I love their energy. They step it up a little bit this week. And then, then we all go to A&M, the College Station, and then we put it on the line and see where we are in a hostile environment and go from there.
Did you lay the 39 with Miami? I
No.
thought that.
Was it only 39? Oh, geez.
Something like that. I mean, that was a big subject at the track. Did they cover some enormous?
No, but I did take Florida State.
Nice.
I did take Florida State.
And professor, he liked Florida. He gave a good rationale for that, and it turned out to be right, which was amazing. But to see that game come down to this, and then you still had a chance to cover the spread if you had LSU.
Yes.
If they get to overtime, I'm praying that Kelly goes for the point and the tie, other than the win, which I thought would have been, a far more risky move than taking the game to overtime.
Hey, listen, LSU is going to be a really good team. They've got, you could just see the athletes they have.
Your boy looked a little pale, though, even though he took all that
money
to leave Notre Dame.
He's gonna learn quick. This is a different ball game in Baton Rouge, man.
He sounded like Ed Ogeron after the game. He was speaking in tongues. It was like.
Right, listen.
He was spitting up pea soup. I mean, he really looked sick.
Yeah,
Brian
he
Kelly
did,
looked
and he
sicker than anybody. Yeah,
he should have. He
survives this muffed punt with 2 minutes to go, and they're going in. And what is? I mean, here's where Lubie is going insane, man. What? And this is anyone around that was discussing this game said, "What the hell are you doing?
I know,
pitching the football inside
exactly
in a goal line situation."
Yeah.
It should never leave the guy's hands. I mean, maybe backwards like 5 yards or something, but not on the inside like that.
Let's look at the whole this whole amazing weekend. Started on Thursday night with App State, North Carolina. I mean, with Pitt in West Virginia. Pitt in West Virginia was a spectacular game.
Pretty good game, yeah.
And then we just went from there on and on and on to really, really great premier marquee games. I thought that the Notre Dame Ohio State game. I think Marcus Freeman's got something there, and I think that obviously Ohio State is. Whoa, they got a whole bunch of athletes. I just think it's going to be a great season. If week one is anything like, if the rest of the weeks are anything like week one, I mean, it's going to be an absolute remarkable season. I could not get enough of it. And you kept thinking to yourself, what can top this? What can top this? And then you get the Florida State game. You go, well, here we go.
That was as wild a finish to any ball game. I think.
Well, App State North Carolina thing.
That was crazy. NC State game with kids missing extra point. That they missed a point.
Just
lost.
That was good. I had the under in that game, so I tuned it out fairly early. I mean, it was like, what they put up, 125 on the board? Something like that. All right, Tony Segreto, of course, we're all school with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. I don't mind, this is a bet I don't mind paying off at all, because we're going to head to Texas Roadhouse.
And by the way, to your point, real quick, I think you're right. I think regardless of how you feel about Serena, I think her early exit, just set everything up. So now people are gravitated to some great matches. I was working out the other day. Heck, all of us were watching. What's the young man's name that beat Nadal?
Tiafoe?
Is it?
Yeah. Francis Tiafoe.
Just grab. we were all mesmerized by that.
Yeah.
By that.
No, he's a good player. Yeah.
Yeah. It really has been a wonderful U.S. Open so far.
And this guy has a rags to riches story also. Francis
he
Tiafoe.
does.
And I've watched him over the years because, you're always thinking, well, it'd be nice to see this kid's story come and flourish like the Williams sisters did. Very humble beginnings. I think I was saying yesterday, he had like a snowshoe that he found in a garage somewhere, and he turned it into a tennis racket.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was like a groundskeeper at a tennis center, and that he got started by taking guys like broken rackets and playing with them. And he's tough. He lost a couple of really, high wire matches earlier this year to major contenders. Where they battle. I think he played Kyrgios in just an absolute dogfight of a 3-setter, and ended up losing when he had the advantage. So there was some question whether he could close these kind of matches out, but he's doing it more frequently, recently. And of course that was big. Nadal was not 100% though, I don't think, in this thing, and it's pretty amazing that he's 36 years old. And competes at this level, but
the level is
wow. The play has been sensational, and I think it did work out well. I would agree 100%. The Serena story played out, and it ended just when it needed to end. Also,
exactly, it did
because it was really grabbing the stage from what was sensational play by other people, and she wasn't playing at the level that these other people are playing. That's for sure.
Right, agreed. I totally agree with you. But it's been this whole couple of weeks has just been fabulous.
Amazing,
a great time of year. Now we have the NFL starting. I mean, it's going to be some fun stuff.
All right, very good. All right, and Lubie, what's the status of the great Ed Garcia? Are we connected with him? No sign. Oh, okay.
Where is he? Wait a minute. Is he still partying from Michigan's win?
Probably he's excited about Michigan's win. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How about and the Gators end up now number 12 from being unranked.
Yeah.
They drop right into the middle of the list there.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure a lot of Gator fans are excited about, and that was a very interesting ball game.
I'll tell you
too.
what.
I mean, coming right down to the end. I mean, two just monster finishes for these.
If you watch that game, there was no question they got themselves a quarterback. Anthony Richardson is. He was the man on that field. He was, no question, he was the guy.
Now, did you find yourself rooting? You bet on them, but were you still rooting?
I didn't bet on the
okay.
Gators. I bet on Florida State. There's a big difference.
So you're already cleaning up, Tony. A lot of people are buried at this point in time. They just, they're
I just pick my spots. I just pick my spots. You gotta, and you also have to pick what you believe, what you truly believe. And listen, I lose most of the time. I just had a fortunate weekend, and I think I'm excited to see how Miami develops. I tell you what, and I'm not dismissing Miami. It's just that they played Bethune-Cookman like Florida State played Duquesne the week before. You get teams like that. It's sort of like a preseason game. You would hope that they would win, but you're more interested to see how they win. And are they going to be consistent? Are they going to be disciplined? And they're going to have this and that, and how they react. So I thought it was great. And I'll tell you what, the three quarterbacks in this state are terrific. Three good.
Well, that's the one thing a lot of people talked about. I noticed. And look, Jordan Travis is a guy that I've been sort of hard on because he's run first dude, and I get it. The defensive line by the halfway point was down 2 dudes. I don't care. That defensive line is as good as any in the country.
All right, let's be negative. How about we do the negative hour?
Well, I was going to be positive. I was going to say he played as well as any quarterbacks I've seen play in a long time. He was patient. He was smart. Look, if those guys catch those 2 touchdowns, he has a 4-touchdown day versus one of the best defenses in the country, pretty much in their house. I mean, he played out of his mind. He ran when he had to. He used his legs to throw in a way I haven't seen him. The play calling by Norvell was something I've been looking for, where it fit Jordan Travis. And it's what you saw with Anthony Richardson with the Gators, and it's what you're seeing with with
Van Dyke.
Where they're going to run first. They're going to take the pressure off their quarterback, which will allow the play action, so it'll make the passing easier. And that's something we haven't seen from that's the one thing the 3 programs haven't had in a long time. 3 quarterbacks.
Well, you can't when they're young quarterbacks. Now, all 3 guys are pretty mature, but when they're young quarterbacks, you can't just make them the carry the load. That's not fair. It's just not. It's not. Edgar, hey, Ed. I think Michigan did Michigan play this week? Did they? Is he there?
Yeah, Michigan had a big win. I'm not a fan of the cupcake game. Tony, you know that.
Yeah, I know.
Add
the preseason game.
A flaming arrow of negativity into the conversation here. But when Alabama's taking on Utah State,
right.
and you're watching Utah State, life and death to beat University of Connecticut, a team that was 3-69 over the last 10 years. And then they're going to go against Alabama. I don't need to see this.
I agree.
It's the clubbing of seals. It really is, Tony. I mean, it's just like if you enjoy watching that, then great.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I would like to see more competitive games. All right, the college football playoff expanding now to 12 games.
Love
you
it.
do like that.
I think
we need 12 teams in there. I mean, it's funny because I was the biggest proponent of it should be as wide open as the basketball, like from a football sense. Obviously, you have timing issues and a lot of different things in terms
different
of
sport. It's a completely
locale.
Sport,
but I mean, did we need 16 teams in there? I mean, maybe back in the day you did, but
I think 12 is a good way to expand.
Do we need that though? I've reversed my opinion. 4 is plenty. I mean, the 4th team usually sucks.
I think we need to get beyond the 4. If for no other reason than we give other teams an opportunity to get in. Here's what I love. I love that it's 12. I love the fact that the first round is on campus. So I think that that's going to be spectacular for the campuses. Mike, if there's a concern, and I'm going to learn more next week when I'm at the meeting, how we are going to maintain and preserve the bowls.
Bowls, yeah, that's
right?
what I was curious about.
And I think that's what's most important. And I don't think they would have pulled the trigger on this unless they knew what they were going to do. So
the Gasparilla Bowl becomes a factor now in the championship hunt. No,
well, I mean, we have the championship game in 26.
Have you been to the Gasparilla Bowl?
No, I have not.
I meant to ask you too. I mean, that game was in New Orleans, that FSU game, but
I have been to New Orleans a lot. I have been to New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, what's your go-to food there when you go there, Tony Segreto? I mean, do you go to an Italian joint there? Because there is that influence.
No. So my two go-tos are, I love going on Bourbon Street to just sit at an oyster bar.
Okay.
And just eat as many oysters.
So you're
as
rolling
I
to Acme
can.
and suck down a few.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll do some. Watch them shuck them, and then we'll get a couple of cold brews to go with it.
Yeah.
And then we'll go to we pick. There isn't a restaurant you can go. You can wherever you go, it's going to be great. But I love the other staples are. I love about midnight going to get a beignet with a good cup of the chicory coffee. And then Brennan's for breakfast. I mean, you can't
Brennan's.
beat,
Wow.
you can't beat any of that. So, I've been there enough to where I know the menus pretty well. And in fact, I have a friend of mine who lives in New Orleans who sends me the chicory coffee because they love the chicory coffee a lot. So,
Sonny Hirsch was a big fan of going to Brennan's for breakfast. And,
he
said you had to witness the preparation of this bananas Foster. Which,
it's unbelievable. I mean, here you are at 7:30 in the morning. You're having your coffee, your regular
Eggs Benedict
breakfast,
at about
Benedict,
50 a pop. Yeah,
and then they come out with dessert that you're going, oh no way, get it away. And
it's real old school stuff too.
Yeah, man,
it's service.
It's remarkable. White tablecloths, everybody's dressed up. They're great servers. They know what to recommend. When you ask them, it's like a Texas Roadhouse. When you ask the server, so what is this like? They give you a straight answer, not, oh, I've never tried it. I don't know. Let me go ask somebody who does. I mean,
you have to be pretty nifty with a knife or a blade to shuck those oysters too.
I
would imagine that
they have shuckers there. They have.
I know, but I mean, the people that do it, I mean, they're absolutely great. If anything, they look like they were trained by Texas Roadhouse in what they do. They're so expert at it. Hey, how about this? We have Ed Garcia, and he's on the road.
Where are you, Ed?
I'm in beautiful Minnesota.
Where?
Minnesota. He's in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah, that's a great play. I love
Minnesota.
Excellent.
Minnesota. Yeah. Are you ice fishing? What are you doing up there?
It's getting ready. Checking out some of the Texas Roadhouses up to some of their systems, and it's been a great.
Kind of got a spotty connection here, really. We
they know the connection's not great. That's why he wasn't able to connect via the.
Yeah. All right. No, it's great. I lost a bet to Tony, and I don't mind losing this one because it's dinner for the three of us at Texas Roadhouse. So now we have to go there. A couple of times, but I was saying I'll probably get out of there for less than a stick, and we all need a good steak, which is a great thing about your place.
Yeah, Ed, you guys are doing well.
I'd love to have you guys real soon.
Well, I'm going to be in town next week, and we'll set it up to come in, and hopefully you'll be in town, and you can meet us, and we can have a good dinner, and we can plan our contest. So we can get a lucky winner to come down to the Texas Roadhouse and be with us. Tell you what, hey, listen, did your restaurants just kick butt this weekend with people sitting at the bar or the whole restaurant watching games? Can you fill us in on how that went?
It was very, very awesome. Everybody came in by the drove, thousands and thousands of people. The weather worked with everybody, so
kind of losing a little bit of Ed Garcia here, but he looks great. That's a good thing. Maybe we can catch Ed on the phone or something.
Let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we can get Ed on the phone.
So I want to hear what he thought about the college football season. You're off to a rocket start, though, Tony Segreto.
What's that?
Man, you're picking winners. It's great. I mean,
that
you
to
finished
me,
last year very strongly, as I recall,
yeah,
and
I did, but I got to keep the momentum. I got to pick my spots. I haven't even looked at what we're gonna do, what I'm gonna do this week yet.
well, and I meant to ask you this because I started talking about it, and it took me a while to get used to it when I moved to South Florida to get used to the idea of how dominant football was. Now, it obviously made some sense because this was 1981, and that's all we had, right? Karen, that was all we had, right? When she flushed the Coke down the toilet.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have pro basketball, we didn't have pro baseball, we didn't have pro hockey. So you had the University of Miami was just about to come into prominence, although nobody knew for sure under Howard. The Dolphins were always, being counted on to perform at a very high level. And I didn't realize how the Deep South was so football centric.
Oh,
But
crazy.
never before have I found myself, so anxious to see an NFL season get started. I don't know. Do you find yourself,
I'm excited about this NFL
Yeah.
season. I think I'm excited because there's a lot of movement around. There's I don't know. It almost feels like a renaissance, like this rebirth. So let's see what happens. We have great games on. We have a great game on Thursday, great game on Sunday night. Dolphins open up against Patriots. But first, we got Ed Garcia back on the phone. Ed,
All right.
you there?
Beautiful.
Hello.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me much better now?
Oh, much
Hello, can you hear me?
better. So
Yeah.
go back to real quick your this past weekend. Did you say you had over thousands and thousands of people at all these different restaurants? Is that what it was that you were telling us?
We did. It was such a great weekend. That the Sunday night was extra popping because people didn't have to come into work the next day. Obviously, college football was a real big win on Saturday for lots of people. Just a lot of excitement all the way around. We should have saw the margaritas were slinging and the snake fights and the hand cut steaks. It was a fantastic weekend.
Now, Ed, one of the things I wanted to ask you, and I forgot to ask you last week, let's say someone's going to the University of Miami game, or wherever a Texas Roadhouse is, a Florida State, Florida game, a Michigan game. Can they get tailgate food from you and bring it to the game? Do you have packages like that, or can they create a package like that to get some tailgate food and bring it?
Absolutely. We have some really cool family packs. You can actually also find it on our mobile app and then call to the restaurants. We will always work depending on the size. It's really hard to find something one size that fits all. However, if you have a party of 8, 16, 40, 50, 100, whatever it may be, we'd be more than happy to put something together for you. We have a lot of great things like boneless wings, which are perfect for tailgating, not too messy. Grab a couple of forks, and we have some really great sauces for those. We have our delicious snake bites, and that's really the homemade, hand-rolled jalapeno popper. It takes us 2 days to make them. They're absolutely fantastic. And then, some really great dipping sauces with that. But a lot of little great different things that you can do and take to the tailgate. So that way you can go into the game nice and full.
And you can bring the great margaritas with you too.
That's right. Depending on the state that you're in, but absolutely the margaritas to go. You just got to make sure we have a sign that says Lubie can't take more than 2 gallons. So,
yeah, a guy shows up at a tailgate party with a couple of racks of those ribs. Texas Roadhouse, Tony. Tell me you don't become the big maca right away at that party.
Well,
right?
not only that,
Everybody
but you forget when the kickoff is. You just want to sit there and finish up. Yeah, I mean, the game is irrelevant at that point.
You don't care. You got a little bit of barbecue sauce on that Dolphin jersey, as you're sitting there in the stands there and baking in the sun, but it feels good. And always a pleasure. Hey, thanks so much for joining us here in Minnesota. Are the Wolverines playing the Gophers this week or something? Oh, that's right. You're doing a restaurant thing. So that's what brings you to the Midwest. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for being with us.
Absolutely. Have a great day, guys.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot.
I get a last winter. I get a text message with all these pictures from Chuck Foreman, who still lives in Minnesota, and the great Chuck Foreman, who was University of Miami legend, and then went on to the pros, and obviously, played for the Vikings. And he sends me a picture of his driveway. He goes, brother. He says, I can't get out of my driveway. I need to come back to South Florida.
Oh yeah.
So I'm here in Vermont, and I go, and I think I'll picture the snow here. I go, don't complain to me about your snow. What are you, crazy? Not even close.
Chuck
So
Foreman, man. Yeah, you can hear Facenda like in your ears. A hard-nosed running back out of the University of
and
Miami.
when you see those old films, you don't realize how big.
Man, that guy was a
when you
bruiser,
see,
man.
well,
He was
when
Derrick
you,
Henry before Derrick Henry.
when you see Chuck Foreman and Archie Griffin in particular, and you realize, and Tim Brown from Notre Dame, how big those shoulder pads were at the time. I mean, they were like the guy you see on Fox, the robot you see on Fox, as the prelim to a football game for Fox Sports. It's incredible, really something.
Remember those cheapo plastic shoulder pads you used to get when we were kids, Tony? And it would inevitably like break your spine on the first hit.
It was like getting it. It was like getting it at Old Navy.
It was detrimental. They found out eventually that, or at least they believe now, that headgear is detrimental to boxers that are training. That they're better off just not wearing it at all.
Yeah.
And that was the case with these shoulder pads, right? I mean, those things, the protective gear has come a long way.
Yeah,
that's for sure. All right, we have the NFL season on tap, and the Miami Dolphins, I believe, and you're not going to like this, Tony, but I believe they're a cinch in this first game against the Patriots. The line up to 3.5 now.
Listen, they're favored. Miami's favored by 3.
They were favored by 3, now 3.5. And Belichick brought the team down here to go to the beach and party, for a week before they go out there. And they routinely blow this game at Hard Rock Stadium. I think they've lost 8 out of 10.
I think. Listen. It's again. I think Miami wins this game. I agree with you. I really do. I think if nothing else. First of all, I think they're ready to go, and I think that Belichick is still kind of struggling getting the roster like the way he wants it, and I think I think the Heat will finally wear them down. It's just different. It's just people can talk about Heat everywhere. It's just a lot different. Yeah, it's just, and you're in that. It's just gonna. I like Miami. I really do.
Jason Cole said it's comical that he was on the show yesterday with us, Jason, and said it's comical that Belichick thinks that his team is going to adjust to what it's like to, wear this gear and compete in the South Florida Heat in the span of a few days when everybody knows it takes 2 years to get acclimated to this weather.
2 years? I've lived there most of my life, and I'm still not acclimated.
I've been here 39 years, and
I'm walking my dog last night. I was getting ready to go out with the Mustang and catch a show somewhere here in town. And sure enough, and we also had to re-enter the Deadpool because Gorbachev checked out. You can appreciate that. Somebody hit it with Gorbachev. And I ended up with George Foreman as one of the names I have. George ain't going anywhere. Last time I'm drawing the worst names in this pool. O.J. Simpson in the last one. He's never going to die.
We joke about being degenerates, but that right there is just sick. It is just absolutely.
It is. I agree. I hate it.
I don't even want to be honest with you. I don't even want to hear about it.
Well, at least I can look myself in the eye in the mirror, Tony,
and still be sick
by admitting to be sick. Yeah. All right. We're going to come back with more old school with Tony Segreto.
It's just wrong. It's wrong.
It's not like you're rooting for the guy to die.
Yeah, you are.
I really.
No, you happen to cash if he does. If James Caan checks out, you worship the fact that he was a brilliant actor, and then you go, "Hey, thanks, James, for the 42 dimes." Beautiful. Back with more in a moment. Now that it's a nice piece of cash there, undeclarable. Also, it's 8:34 already. In style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people. There is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Does your bookie have an app, though? Well, everything's on an app.
No, he only deals with me.
Well, I mean, what did you do for this man? Did you break him out of prison?
I was going to say, what does that mean?
What did you do? Did you get him off some rap? He was with
like,
El Chapo. He was about to do life, and you called an attorney on his behalf. What happened here?
I'm like Costanza with the password for his bank account in that episode. I'm going to go to my grave with that.
Exactly.
Wow, I mean, you do get very generous odds. I would have to say. No, I mean, that would be all anybody that was a sick degenerate like we are could ever dream about is getting better prices than anybody else. Various ball games. So we'd still find a way. We'd still find a way to lose.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
Do you regret Tony Segreto? Well, welcome back to the show, by the way. We're old school with Tony Segreto, brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse Restaurant.
I have no regrets.
Did you regret, I think you might remember this, putting that 52 Mickey Mantle baseball card with a clothespin from your mother's laundry string there in the spokes of your Schwinn bicycle and, letting it make a little bit of a flapping noise for a while so people would know you were coming. And unfortunately, like years later, it turned out to be worth like $13 million.
I could have chose differently. Yeah. I did not choose wisely for sure.
What the hell were we thinking, Tony?
You know what?
Oh my God! I mean, my Eli Gerba cards, which remember this guy from the Yankees.
Cards, first of all, I never got the card thing because my dad did the same thing, and I used it when I was like 8. I'm like, why would you do that? But why would it always be good players? Because he said, Willie Mays and Williams and DiMaggio. I'm like, what? Why not use the crappy players at least? If you're gonna do that, why
were we flipping our Mantle and Mays cards when we could have been flipping Eli Gerba and Harry Cheating?
Obviously, we weren't thinking, and I don't, Jeff. Think about. Well, I can only talk about my family.
Yeah.
When I was young, a lot of my gifts from my aunts and uncles when I was growing up were stocks in different companies.
Oh, no wonder you're in Vermont.
They were teaching you how to open your bank account, and I would take my bicycle to the bank once a week for my paper route and put money in the bank account. So. But
I did that once. I did.
When it came to baseball, no one knew baseball cards would be valuable. No one advised you that that one day these things would be, amazingly expensive. We had no idea, none
Never
whatsoever.
Would have thought. Never.
And I mean, just even some of the stuff, listen, from our parents, God rest their soul, the China, we must have probably between here and Florida, we must have 4 different sets of China from parents and grandparents that my wife says are valuable, because who would have known at that time? Who would have known? Nobody.
No.
And you're right. I mean, we abused those cards. Whether we flipped them, whether we put them in bicycle.
They were a commodity. Yeah.
They were in the back of your, in your back pocket when you took them fishing, and they were still in your back pocket with the bait. Sometimes, I mean, it was just we abused them, and little did we know that
you threw out all the rookie cards. Threw them out.
Oh,
right
yeah.
Away. Who's this rookie?
Exactly.
Get him out of here.
Yep.
Checklists were big. Yeah. I had a friend. This is really a shame. And I probably had access to this, but it never would have occurred to me that it was worthwhile to do. But I had a friend when I was going to PS20 elementary school, whose mother worked for Topps.
Oh.
And she used to pull this kid like an entire set in the box, right? So all you had to do was leave this crap in the box, And I probably could have got it myself, but I was like, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
And I
Now,
kind of
here's
like
the
going to the store and buying the pack and gambling that you might have a good one in there, which you
Right.
never did. It was always like a scratch-off ticket, that you buy for the Florida lottery, where
Right.
all of your buddies have won like $10,000 jackpots, but you never get shit. Nothing.
Right. Now,
Right.
here's the question. I know what your answer will be, but just for a moment, do you, if you had this mantle card for all these years, and there was you could get 13 million. I mean, I know we would all sell it, but there would still be this little tug at your heart that you're going, oh my God,
not 1 second's worth of regret on that. A baseball card worth $12-13 million, Tony? Are you kidding me?
No,
there you go, man. I love the Mick. I'll go get another picture of the guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. I have a bunch of pictures.
You could buy some famous artist that must have done a portrait of Mickey Mantle where he signed it. With like 2 of the million maybe that you have, and you still have 10 million left to spend. I'm going for that.
I have to check. I have a picture.
I would have sold it much earlier though. That's the problem.
Yeah. I have a picture. Yeah, you probably would have sold it when it was like $10,000.
I would have sold it for like $5,000. I mean, gladly. Years earlier, and probably needed the money to pay off some loan sharks. So that would have been some ugliness. All right, let's get into a couple of NFL things here.
Yeah,
because we have the game coming up tomorrow night.
Yep.
A lot of people in wild anticipation of that.
Yep.
It is a blockbuster.
My daughter's full on board, man. They're working hard.
Oh, that's right, working on a thing for NBC.
She's her big game is Sunday Night Football, so she'll be working. She's got a big role not a big role, but she's got a role in that game, staying back in Stanford.
Hey, now that Michaels is gone, she can call the game.
Yeah, exactly. But they'll also, all the Sunday night folks were going to help out the Amazon folks because NBC's doing all the production on that. So
aren't they airing the game though? Somebody was it Lubie that was saying it's on NBC?
Yeah, it is. This one's on NBC.
This first one, yeah.
Yeah, this first one's on NBC.
Very good.
And one of the things she works on, as an aside, being a proud father, she works on the Open, the Carrie Underwood Open.
Nice.
So that's not going to be unveiled until Sunday night, and
that's always good.
Yeah, that really is good. So
nice piece of television production. It's a long way from the old days of the opening of Wide World of Sports, which we thought was spectacular, right?
Yeah.
And they get the guy crashing off the ski slope. That was always a good.
I was told early on in my career by the great Mike Pearl, who's no longer with us now. And Mike was a producer who mentored me, just a brilliant. His family, in fact, owned Muzak.
All right.
The elevator music,
Well, I mean, that's reason to distance yourself from this guy.
Just a brilliant guy. Went on to produce Wide World of Sports and produce the Olympics for ABC before NBC got it.
Oh,
Told
nice.
me that opens to sporting events are critical. It gets you in the mood. It gets you ready. How you open a show, how you open a sporting event is critical. And we used to pride ourselves at Sports Final doing that. And when you look at these opens now, I mean,
spectacular.
Who's reading this? What star is reading that? I mean, it was just incredible stuff. Incredible stuff.
It incorporates that skill that you and Rinaldi have, which is, the ability to narrate anything and make it sound like it was the most dramatic thing.
Well, thank you for that.
That ever happened in the history of the world.
Thank you. I have a respect for Rinaldi. I'll tell you what, they did something the other day on the linebacker lounge in South Bend. And, having my son go there for 4 years, that was like the spot. But to get in after a game, I mean, you talk about, it is the quintessential Midwest dive bar. Wow. That's had every legend walk in there. It smells like beer. It looks like beer. It's,
everybody looks like Ray Nitschke. Is that what you're saying?
Everybody looks like Ray Nitschke. And every town has it, right? Miami used to have, listen, it's a shame.
I was in a bar last night with some people I wouldn't have normally pictured being there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember probably one of the greatest bars of all time after a Miami game was going to Tobacco Road. I mean, it was.
Oh, that was a great place.
It was a legendary place, and now it's no longer there. But it was Tobacco Road,
Blues Capital. I mean, they had some great musicians there all the time.
Yeah, it was just amazing. After a game, that's where you'd head. Or you would go.
It was a bit of a dark, kind of a dungeon-like atmosphere when you walked in there,
Well,
especially
that's
out
what
of
those
bright
bars
sunlight.
were, you know.
Yeah.
Or you went down to the Grove and went down to Monty's. Those are the place. Monty's is still there, and it's still legendary, and it's still got, you know, if you listen closely to the walls, it tells you great stories because they're just everybody.
The voice of Sonny Hirsch
Sonny
emanates from
Hirsch,
those walls.
every great Hurricane coach, every great Hurricane player, you know, whether it's Bernie Kosar or the greatest Hurricane player of all time, Ted Hendricks. I mean, they were all there. So it's just.
We're here at Monty's tonight with a great Tony Segreto, and Tony, it was a hell of a game.
But it's still there, so go to it. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, though. I mean, and then we have to get into a little Catholic Health Services here, but I don't know. I mean, I don't have any bias against the Buffalo Bills. They're obviously a team that was knocking on the door last year and the last couple of years. This Josh Allen, everybody loves him, you know, because he runs and he throws the ball, and you know he might be a little bit wild, but you know that's a kind of swashbuckling Jim Kelly type of quarterback we haven't seen in a while, and they, you know, with that kind of size and linebacker like ability to go out there and almost administer a punishment himself on some of these tacklers for as long as it lasts. But are you buying that they should be the favorites to win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And do you see them going down as a favorite on the road in week number 1 to the defending Super Bowl champion, Los Angeles Rams?
That's a really good question. I see them going to the Super Bowl. I see them being
You really do? All
favorite
right.
to go to the Super Bowl.
I think they get knocked off.
I think if they get to the Super Bowl and lose again, think about it. Think about how many times
The city of Buffalo will have to apply for you know, to be part of Canada.
Yeah, they may move because I don't think they could.
We got
handle
a new stadium for you. Don't go, please.
Yeah, I don't think they could handle it. How they do this week? This is the one.
You don't think that's buried memory? The 4 straight losses. I mean, which is still a hell of an
Can
accomplishment.
I tell you something?
Yeah.
If it is buried and they get to the Super Bowl, those 4 losses will be resurrected.
We'll see that missed field goal, man. That Norwood thing, a couple of thousand times, worse than the FSU failures on.
They're just gonna regurgitate. They're gonna bring back every guy to talk about those losses. They're going to go back to Jim Kelly. They're going to go back to Thurman Thomas. They're going to go back to everybody to talk about those games. So
remember when they doused Bobby with the Gatorade, and it turned out he ended up losing. They had to blow dry him off. Because he came running out on the field there, and they thought they won.
Yeah, I think this first game against the Rams, I don't know. I am so back and
on the
forth
road
on
against
that
the
one.
Rams.
Yeah, I'm back and forth. I think they're going to win, and then I go, gosh, the Rams.
How do you not take the points in that game?
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at they say Matt Stafford's healthy and ready to go, and
a home dog too. I mean, to open the season, if there's one angle in the NFL that you could look at and you see some improbable results, it would be home underdogs. Holding up, I would imagine, to a very
home
high
underdogs,
percentage.
and you're the Super Bowl champion. I mean, come on. It's like
right. There's the thing. I don't see where the Rams are in decline. I mean, what did they lose besides Odell Beckham Jr.? In the offseason where they spent enormous amounts of money to retain guys like
I think
Donald.
They might still be questioning whether Matt Stafford's healthy. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Supposedly, I mean, I don't know. I'm no Adam Schefter, but I haven't heard where they're concerned, overwhelmingly concerned about this.
Well,
guy.
I don't think they would say if they were concerned. I think they're just putting everything forward and saying, yeah, we're ready to rock and roll.
So when Vince Ferragamo rolls out and starts, we should
man, oh man, can you imagine?
Start worrying.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But you're buying the Buffalo Bills. You're 100% in the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. I really do. And I think, I think they've got great fans, and it would be nice to see.
It's a strange bunch, man. The Buffalo
it's a different,
fans.
it's different. It's a different bunch, but you got to accept. Listen, they're all different. Listen, when you go to, I told you when I went to Starkville, Mississippi,
they have more defining character though in other cities with their fans than we do in Miami.
Oh yeah, we don't have no. We're not like. Listen, when I mentioned Starkville, Mississippi, you're talking about a group of people that go get cowbells and make it impossible.
Oh, they have pitchforks with them. What are you talking about?
No, not pitchforks. But listen, when you go to places like Pittsburgh,
Starkville,
when you go to places like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, right, and
Yeah.
Detroit, and you got those old school fans who just
Everybody looks
do
like
it
Rocky
up.
Blyer. They really
Yeah,
do.
they do, and they're they've got terrible towels that go back 30 years. They've got whatever it is that they hooked on. I mean, I just think when you go to those places and you see those fans, you see the grit. Doesn't matter if it's 5 degrees or 85 degrees. They're out there and they're having fun, and they're cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They could care less what the weather is. They're going to support their team, and I think that's fabulous. It doesn't matter whether they win or lose. They're just it's generational. We're generational, but I don't know. It's just. We're only going to be there if they win. And if the Dolphins don't win, there's not going to be anybody there.
Buffalo Parlay from our friend Julian. Parlay Jessica Pagula. Today, she's still involved in the U.S. Open. Of course, the daughter of the Pagula family, which, what is the guy's name? Tony?
Terry. I think it's Terry Pagula, isn't it?
Terry Pagula, yeah. And he owns both the Bills and the Sabres.
Right.
Essentially owns Buffalo. In fact, I believe he also owns Niagara Falls.
And they love him in Buffalo, by the way.
Yeah. So Julian suggests a Pagula Bills parlay, which I might go against both. I don't know. I like Pagula, though. I respect her. Imagine being a daughter of a billionaire and working as hard as she does.
Yeah.
To excel at this tennis, which the father doesn't seem to be an overwhelming participant. Like, he doesn't go to any of her matches because he gets too nervous.
Yeah.
And
I don't listen. I don't blame him. When I watched my daughter play, man, oh man, I would rather be playing.
You were a little league parent. You were one of those little league parents.
No, I would
screaming at the coach here. No. Hey, why isn't she in the game? Huh?
No. That's why I started the thing I had, the business I had with trying to kind of put.
At David Shula. That was great. Yeah.
I just think that it's watching your child play. I shut up. I would go to another part of the stadium. Yeah. In fact, when we would go to Florida State games, I'd go with Ed Davis, the former Hurricane, whose daughter was a stud. And we'd go in another part of the field and just get away from people because you couldn't handle how people would yell at them, and other parents would yell at their daughters. And oh my goodness,
yeah, that would be,
not so much
horrible.
In college.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen in college very much, but boy, oh boy, on those travel teams, it is just ugly.
Yeah,
ugly.
You're
ugly,
like parents at a quarterback, and some guy is drunk behind you, screaming the whole game that your son sucks, and various other. Unflattering remarks. All right, a place that we have nothing but flattery for because it's all justified. And in fact, we might be underselling it, believe it or not, people. How wonderful the people at Catholic Health Services are. Any type of rehab. We have people and they're stroking out. They're doing all kinds of crazy things. It is a rough go. You need the best of care, and then you need the best of people and a team behind you. And Catholic Health Services is all of that.
All of that and more. It's remarkable. We talk about this every week, and people go, "Come on." We would love to hear, for those of you who watch and listen to us, if you've been to Catholic Health Services, we would love to know what your experience was. We hear from people who have been to Texas Roadhouse. We would love to hear what your experience is. I mean, when you talk about, again, and I'm just going to put this out, honest to goodness, you can go right to any place you want to for rehab, and you're going to walk in and you're going to be wowed by the machines, and they're going to sell you a bill of goods, and they're going to and they will. They'll get you better. They will. But are they going to get you better the way they would get you better at Catholic Health Services, whereby you have doctors, administrators, therapists, all who do it in a passionate, compassionate way? They find out who you are. They find out what makes you tick. They keep the family involved. They let the family know what to expect, when to expect it, and they let the family know when it's time for their loved one to go home, what to expect and how to help them, whether it's occupational therapy or physical therapy or the marrying of the two. And you go, well, how important is occupational therapy? Well, it's extremely important in many cases because these loved ones may have to relearn how to do a lot of different things. How just something as simple as getting in and out of bed. And Catholic Health Services excels.
I'm at that stage, by the way, Tony.
Well, yeah, aren't we all? Excels at all.
I had to talk myself out. Give instructions. They just get up in the morning. It's amazing.
Yeah, but Catholic Health Services does this with such grace, such dignity, such compassion, such love. And here's the other thing: when you leave and your loved one leaves, do you know they still check on you? They still call to make sure you're okay. They want to make sure that everything is going well. And if there's anything else they can do for you, who does that? Catholic Health Services does. So please take it from us. If you need help, and you know what, even if you want questions answered, just have questions. There's someone's actually going to answer the phone and get on the phone with you and answer those questions. It's not going to be a recorded message. So please, at least check them out. Catholic Health Services or CatholicHealthServices.org. Look on the website. If you don't have the website, look them up on information and give them a call.
Oh, they're great. I mean, communication, level of expertise in all departments and categories, and about all different situations. Just absolutely tremendous, unparalleled in the healthcare industry. All right,
Absolutely.
we're going to run for a second here. Tony Segreto, we'll wrap things up. Going old school with Tony Segreto, and we'll find out. He likes the Bills to go to the Super Bowl. Kind of interesting. I see them getting knocked off somewhere along the way, but could be dead wrong about that. There's no question. And,
a lot of. We haven't even started, and we're talking about it already. So we got a lot to go.
Oh yeah, no, long road. I mean, before we get to that point, but you know, I mean, obviously, a lot of people feel the same way you do. They're the favorites to win the championship. All right, back.
Here's what I want to say real quick. This is why I like the 12-game playoff, because if with a 4-game playoff for most teams, if you lose one game, you're done. This way, the regular season really means something, and how you end up playing out, and then getting into the playoffs and then getting hot. I think that's important, and that's what we deal with the NFL. You could be, you know, whatever that schedule. How many wild card teams made it to the Super Bowl and won because they got hot at the right time.
All right, it's an interesting equation. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
I like the way you worked into college football thing. It's 8:56.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Wrapping up old school with Tony Segreto here. Another week, just amazingly quickly flying by here in this hour of old school with Tony. Michigan, by the way, no wonder Ed Garcia is rolling and brimming with confidence. 51-point favorites over Hawaii this week.
I'll tell you what's going to be a really good game this week is Florida.
Imagine laying 51, though. I mean,
no. Florida State's off. Miami plays
Southern Miss. And
25 and a hook on that one.
Yeah,
that's probably the best game of the weekend. Florida.
Florida, Kentucky is going to be huge, absolutely huge. And then we see how other teams play too this weekend. So I think that it'll be a great weekend. And the NFL starts. Come on, man. We got U.S. Open coming up, the finals and semifinals, and we're in the stretch run for Major League Baseball. How
Mets in a dead heat now, absolute dead heat with the Braves.
Yeah. Who would have thought that?
Windows.
And we watch the Yankees kind of shrink their lead.
Yankees are down to 4 and a hook. Over the most amazing organization in all of sports, without question. Tony Segreto, Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh,
how the hell did they do it? It's incredible. And
even
the Yankees,
the whole every sports franchise there, right? From the Bucks to the Rays to the Lightning.
Lightning.
The Lightning. My God, they're all They seem to have that magic bullet, whatever that magic
Remember when
bullet
you
is.
thought that Tampa was like a cow town that was like vastly
yeah.
inferior to South Florida?
I mean, what was Tampa? Tampa was known for Burns Steakhouse. That was it.
That's it, yeah. They had a couple of things. I mean, they had the bridge there, St. Pete. The Blunder Dome was the name of the stadium because they built the stadium and had no team. And a couple of franchises used that whole thing as just leverage to get their own ballparks built in their own cities and stayed there, right? San Francisco did it, and then the White Sox, I think. Stiff job.
Man.
How
about Aaron Judge? He just keeps hitting them out, man.
Are you going to consider that the record, Tony? I think we asked you this.
Yeah, we did. We talked about it. For the Yankees, yes. If he gets to 61.
If he gets to 62 homers.
Yep.
You're going to consider that. Go to your grave saying that was it. Aaron Judge, all-time home run record, single season. All
single season, yeah.
I respect that. All right, Tony, we love you. It was fantastic. Have a great time up there. I mean, the weather, I would imagine, is significantly cooler than it is here in South Florida.
It was 51 degrees this morning.
You're in the one place in the country where it's not 110 in the shade. You're in the one place in the country.
I know. That's why I got 2 layers on here. It's the high today will be 68, and then I think this week's in the 70s, and then I head to South Florida where it's 105.
People are impaling themselves to any air conditioning unit that they have.
Not as bad as what's going on.
And still schwitzing.
In California, my gosh, those poor people.
Yeah.
They're talking about rolling blackouts now, and I mean, it is
not a pleasant
awful
situation. Yeah.
No, I mean 108 degrees. My goodness.
Climate change, though, I don't think we ought to look at it. I think we ought to make America great again and just ignore the whole issue. That would be great. All right.
And keep nuclear secrets hidden in your desk drawer.
I have a couple of nuclear secrets in my desk drawer.
Right next to your hairspray and comb.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's common. Who doesn't do that?
It's insane, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's absolutely insane. All right, Tony, we love you, and we'll talk to you again next week, my friend. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll plan on Texas Roadhouse this week.
Oh, yeah, if you're coming to town, you let me know, and we're going to do it, for sure.
You got it. All right,
the first one will be the one on Ed, and then the next one will be the one on me. No.
However you want to do it, man.
We'll go back-to-back nights. No, I don't mind paying his debt off. That'll be fine.
All right.
You were right about Serena. I was wrong.
Segreto,
All right, we'll see you next week. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that'll do it for us. So, Lubie, it was a lot of fun today. I really enjoyed myself.
Sir.
Sorry about the bad connection there with Ed Garcia, but, he's a great guy. And, wow, I mean, we're lucky on old school. Tony Segreto, of course, brings this kind of representation in terms of class, but 2 really, really fine organizations. Great. People have things about chain restaurants. It's a face from Mayo, right? It's not even on the 4-star rating. It'll be a face. And but even he admits that, there are some well-run chains, and this happens to be one of them. I mean, and they're really well run, because what you're looking for is what? Consistency in all locations, same kind of friendly service, and having the staff really know what the hell they're doing. Makes it a great experience. And then you look at the price and you're like, wow. And I'm a big fan of supporting local businesses, mom and pop places. I'm a big believer in that. Yeah, but Texas Roadhouse, definitely one of the best restaurants you'll find out there in terms of quality and value. And that's why they're so popular, Lubie. I mean, especially with steaks. I don't know how they kept the prices to where they're at. I mean,
is they don't act like other chains. Other chains jack their price up every chance they get.
Yeah.
Roadhouse didn't. They treat themselves like a mom and pop. They're run by owner-operator, so it gives you a local feel.
A lot of pride, too. I mean, it makes a big difference in any organization. If the people all the way from top to bottom take a lot of pride in what they're doing. Same thing, Catholic Health Services, 2 fine organizations. We thank them for their support of Old School with Tony Segreto. Tomorrow, we'll have the Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. That's always a lot of fun. So we'll have some brain-busting questions for you. Gurgles on the scene or no? No Gurgles?
Back in action, yes.
Back in action, okay. That's good. It takes a little of the heat off me, and also means the questions will be better. So you'll have some fun with that. And then Friday, a full-blown, I can't believe this 4-day week is a great concept.
I love it.
If Rubio would propose that and Rick Scott, I might even vote for him. The 4-day work week. I kind of like the whole concept there. Of course, you could do what you want now that Lubie has us owning our own channel, but, we feel an obligation to the people, to the sponsors, to perform like professionals.
If you're working, we're working. That's the thing. So if they're only working 4 days, then we will then only have to work 4 days. So there you go. Figure it out.
Makes some sense, yeah. I still wouldn't vote for Rubio.
No. You wouldn't
Rick
be the one. They wouldn't. They want you to work more and get paid less. That's how they think.
Exactly, yeah. Probably propose a state tax pretty soon. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow with a Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge featuring Dave Gurgles Gurgley. Friday, a Degenerate Friday. All of our handicappers, they didn't do so well. They got touched up a little bit this past week. But we are very transparent here on the show. Accountability is a big part of what we do. So if our guys are losing, we'll tell you, man, they're getting buried. This is it. And sometimes you have to know when to lay off a guy, even a guy that you respect. Every now and then, everybody goes south for a while, right?
Well, they all tell you the first week you don't know. I mean, unless you're going with heavy favorites, like you don't know.
And Lawrence is always in a vulnerable position. He's always picking underdogs. Okay, so I mean, the likelihood is, based on what the odds makers think. I don't know. I guess with the point spread, obviously it evens out, so it's a coin flip. But lost a tough one, I think, in the Cincinnati game last. Oh, you gave them a push because they were getting 7.
Yes.
Okay. And that Boise State thing, the lonely theory. Unfortunately, yeah. I'm under the heading of lose my number. No, the Boise State game. You can't lose confidence in a guy like that, though.
No.
Never.
They always find a way. They find a way. You have to be consistent. The problem is you have to bet them consistently so that when they're winning, it overrides their losing.
And I also believe this. I mean, in any kind of handicapper, a guy gives you a tip. I mean, you can use that as a guide unless you know the guy is just absolute money. There's one guy comes up to me at the track and very rarely does so. But when I see him, he's always running around and he is into everything, right? I mean, he might give you a horse at Mountaineer in the 7th race, even though it's only 2:00 in the afternoon and the racing doesn't even start there till 7 at night. But generally, I mean, I would say 3 out of 5 to 4 out of 5 times he's right about a horse that comes in at a price. So you're going to make a lot of money if you just follow this guy.
You're consistently.
Him, I don't question. I just unload. But no matter what, especially handicapping sports, you really need to use these people as a guide, right? And say, hey, I agree with the professor or whatever. But you can't just go verbatim and say, hey, I'm going to. You would have won money with Mark Lawrence over the years if you played all of his picks that he's given out on the show. You'd be ahead.
Yes,
there's no doubt about it. And if you're playing moneyline plays, what does a professor do? He goes like a certain amount on the money line and then like double or whatever. It's almost like craps, right?
He divests. He does some on the play, and if he really loves it, he'll go money line if it's a good.
Take a little sniff there and get a price. It's the way to go. Professor's very careful about how he does this stuff too. I mean, he doesn't mess around like we do, recklessly keeping documents in drawers that might give away nuclear secrets of like countries that were formerly allies. All right, we will we'll see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. as we leave you know that.
The time.
What's this, Donnie? It's 9:07.
Let's go to eat a damn snack. Look what they done to my soul.